Hey, welcome to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here on a crisp Wednesday afternoon. The sun is out, and I am ready to rock and roll. I'm pretty excited this week. Most of my teams won this weekend. How about those Morehead State Dragons? They just keep, I got to tell you, big game, they can't beat McKendree. They lose their first game of the season. As an alumni, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be a long season. And then they go up to Duluth and they knock off UMD, who was number 9 at the time, and then they have that hiccup at McKendree. And so I went and played pickleball for 3 hours because Augustana is a pretty good opponent. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to spend time with my wife. And lo and behold, I get home and I turn on the radio. By the way, you guys do an awesome job of calling the games.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I'm listening, and in my head I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. And then it comes down to the end, and I knew that kid was a good kicker, okay? I mean, I've seen him boot it. And, when a ball comes off a kicker's foot, you can tell if they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard it in the telecast when he hit it, and just the way it sounded like a good golf shot, I was like, oh. And then you screamed and yelled. I'm like, are you kidding? So they knocked off number 18, number 19. Congratulations to Steve Lockwood. There's some people that think that Lockwood doesn't recruit very well, and they could probably do better with a coach. I'm thinking that he's right where he needs to be. I think that, people don't understand that it takes time to build a solid program. And Morehead State was on the merry-go-round of coaches for how many years, and now we've got somebody that's bringing some stability. He's slowly getting in better and better players. It takes time, so I want Dragon Nation, first of all, let's stay behind the coach and be behind him, 100%, and keep coming out and support. And congratulations on the big win. NDSU rolls. I don't know how the Cobbers did. No offense, Cobbers.
Cobbers 35-0 whooping a St. Scholastica for homecoming. It was a very good day in the Metro on Saturday.
Well, anytime that we win locally, I love it. So, again, I have on my solid Viking purple because the purple just they kicked it in the high gear, and being a Viking fan, it just slays me that people don't understand why the Vikings played defense and offense the way they did in the second half, okay? And it's called playing not to lose, which you play the metrics. When you've got a 4-touchdown lead, you're not going to continue to blitz somebody because you can give up a quick score, next thing you know, they're back in the game. That other team has to beat you over time. And I think that was lost on some people. And it's like, dude, I get it. Now, when I coached football, here was my rule. If we can't get a yard, we don't deserve to win. So going forward on 4th down, guess what? I didn't agree with the call. You never run a stretch play because defenses are fast sideline to sideline. I would have rather seen a dive, maybe a play action, and even Sam Darnold roll out backside to the tight end or a fullback. But in that condensed space, you can't run stretch plays. They take too long. And this is the NFL. The second part is they're not playing slouches. Green Bay is a very good team. And so if people expected that first half to be the second half to be like the first half, they're sadly mistaken. And I think a lot of times fans don't give the other team credit for being a good team. Now, I'm happy with the victory. It was too much of a nail biter, but think about it. Onside kicks, those aren't automatic, So I'm sitting there and watching the game. I'm like, this game is over, right? So anyway, I'm pretty excited about it all. I have a special guest in studio. As you guys know, I took over as the president of Dynasty Elite Athletic. It is a program that's different from FM Athletics in that we play national rules when it comes to football. So in other words, at FM Athletics, your linebackers can't blitz. There's certain things that you can't do. We use all the rules on it available for youth football. And the special thing is these kids get to have experience of playing other teams in other states. It's invaluable. And so I liken it to Legion Baseball. Everybody plays everybody locally, But when you get to play on the national stage or you get to play other teams from other states, you really get to measure how good you are, okay? And so that's what Dynasty Elite Athletic does. And we have teams that are playing fantastic. We have parents like my friend Abby Hansen here. For the past few weeks, I have been talking about the city commission. I've been talking about how people need to pay attention. And my show is supposed to be about positivity and moving us forward. And I found that I was getting stuck in this loop of talking about the city commission and the crazy things that are going on there. But I do that because people have to be informed. I mean, this last meeting, the fact that the flip-flop that took place in the city commission as far as this budget, the only thing being cut is DEI and some phantom employee positions at the health department, absolutely is something that we need to pay attention to. We've got politicians who are talking out of both sides of their necks. They're making deals. John Strand, I'm very disappointed in what happened because we deserve better. All the debt, Moody's ratings, all these things that happened, this isn't like this happened overnight, okay? For the past 10 years, we have been spending money like water. Now, there are two things you have to understand about the budget, and I'll just call them operational costs, which means that it's the cost of doing business, your paper clips, your trucks, infrastructure. Okay, the cost of that is going to go up, so your budget may go up 3 to 5%. That's going to happen simply because that's how much it costs to run the city of Fargo. But there's a second part to that, and it's that our budget went up, 10 or 13%? Okay, we're not in position to do that, and so looking at the way the city has been run is that these problems just didn't happen. They just didn't pop up this year. They didn't pop up because of inflation. That was a factor in it. But we need better city managers in the city of Fargo. We absolutely do. But that's on us as citizens. If we look at the number of candidates that we had for city commission, I said it before, I was unimpressed because most of them sounded uninformed. But these are the people that wanted to make change in our community, okay? We need to do a better job as citizens of being on top of this. So that's all I'm going to say about the city commission for now, but I would encourage people, if we don't pay attention, this king can fall off the rails real quick. We're spending money that we don't have. We're over $1 billion in debt, and the easy solution is to raise taxes. Now, we all feel like we're being taxed to death, but we need to pay attention because if we don't correct what Moody's says is a disaster in the making, we're all going to be affected, and it's going to affect our pocketbooks. So that's my rant for today. So now we're going to be, welcome to the show, Abby Hansen.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. Close enough. I'm excited to have you here because, if you just want to move, there you go. I'm excited to have you here. We've only known each other for a week, but I was so impressed with what you had to say last week and the way that you're giving back to the athletes and the parents and Dynasty Elite. So let's talk about, first of all, tell people about yourself a little bit so they get an idea.
Oh my gosh. I don't really know what to say. I'm just excited to be here. And I live in Fargo. I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. I have twin boys that are 10 and an amazing daughter who's 14. So going through that middle school phase. And I work for a company called ABM Technology Group and just came on as the recent vice president of Microsoft and AI and love to give back to the community.
Not AI.
Yes,
so
AI.
we might as well jump into the AI topic because we had co-hosts talking about how they don't like AI and they're afraid of AI. And we were talking before the show that, when people don't understand things, they typically are afraid of it. And so for me, I love AI. Creating documents or things that I need to get done have been so much easier. I have a learning disability, so for me, it's a tool that's helping me, But, I always say that computers, like anything, even if it's self-learning, there has to be somebody programming it.
Yep.
So you can program safeguards into AI just like anything else, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And it's really about how do you use it and having user responsibility at the end of the day, which is super important. And so I love it. I'm super passionate about it. This morning, I created a PowerPoint presentation in 45 seconds. And so being able to get time back in my day is super important. And then even going out to like LinkedIn and doing a creative post that makes it so I don't have to think as hard, which is nice at the end of the day.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we're going to talk more about AI. We're going to talk about your involvement in Dynasty Elite Athletic. We're up against our first break. It goes fast. So this is Jon Adams with Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000 or studio at wdayradionow.com. Yes. Yes, James is back. The music is back. I'm here with Abby Hansen. We're talking Dynasty Elite Athletics. Now, you work for ABN now, but is it a subsidiary of Microsoft, but it's affiliated with Microsoft? How does that work?
Yeah, so we're a Microsoft solution provider. So we work with our customers from everything of making sure that your house is secure, right, from a corporate business perspective. So having the right security solution in place so you're not hacked or bring risk into your environment. We also look for you to have the right infrastructure when it comes to Microsoft 365 applications and infrastructure in the cloud and just making sure you're completely protected. Yeah, there's a ton that goes on. And you know, a lot of people in the country are like, what is this AI thing? And so ABM brought me on to really run that part of the business to take away the fear, right? And when we talk to customers, they're like, well, I don't know how to use it. How does it impact my business? And people are like, is it going to take away, right? Is it going to take away my job? But at the end of the day, it makes your job easier so you can be more productive and help your customers, from patient care to manufacturing to car dealerships. I mean, it can really help make a business impact at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a mouth. And but this is the way that we're headed.
It
And
is.
so, you know, there are two ways to look at it. You know, you can dread it or understand. The one thing that I say, the one thing that we don't pay attention to is time. You know, that's the only thing that we have a finite amount of. And my sons have been out of high school for a while. They've been out of the house for a while. I'm busier now more than ever. So to me, being able to use ChatGPT, a document, like I said, I have ADD and dyslexia. So for me, creating a document becomes an adventure. I used to spend a whole afternoon just printing a flyer for my business. Now I go to AI and it's done like that. And then, you know, change some of the wording, you know, put my logo on it and away you go. So your education background, your degree is in education.
It is elementary education and coaching.
But you ended up in AI. How does that happen?
You know, I have a really crazy journey. I used to work at a local bank in town, and I started to volunteer at that bank. And I became a JC, the Junior Chamber International. Fargo had a chapter. The state of North Dakota had a chapter. And I got really engaged and involved and was local president, state president, national vice president. It really built me to become like a giving back mentality. And I saw a job opening at Microsoft. And after 14 interviews, 14, yes, this is how the tech world is. You know, they want to see how tough you really are. I got to the final interview, and the manager at the time, Christy Richmond, huge mentor of mine, said, "You were a JC. I was a JC. I know what it takes to be a part of that organization.
Right.
You've made it this far. You're hired."
Wow.
And so that started my door. And I was like, you know what? I have this awesome opportunity. I'm going to take it. I'm going to have a growth mindset. And I learned everything I could. It was a 1-year contract. And then I had to leave for 100 days. And I was like, okay, how do I get my foot back in the door? This is how Microsoft does it. And I got my foot back in the door, did that, worked for Microsoft Partner. And then I went and got a job with Microsoft as a full-time employee, where I ran the modern workplace strategy for North and South America. And
holy moly.
Yeah, it was crazy. And part of that journey, you know, it makes you tough from that perspective. Like at one point in time, I had a manager tell me that I was too bubbly and I needed to be more stoic, right? And when I think about that, I was like, you know, I'm not going to be afraid to be uniquely me. And when you go into a workplace, you can't be afraid to be who you are, right? Otherwise, you're not going to fit in.
Right.
And I figured that, you know, it's a time for me to leave that job.
Right.
And I interviewed at my previous employer, and I went through 10 interviews with Ingram Micro. And the last interview I had was with the vice president, who was a JC in Arizona.
Wow.
And he opened up my whole world. So I ran Microsoft practice there, and then I came, and now I'm a vice president. So you kind of like, if you have the right mindset and you build and you grow and you're not afraid to have challenges and take risk and fail fast, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to.
That is, wow. So, you know, you mentioned something. As a coach, we always tell the kids, if you're going to fail spectacularly.
Correct.
You know? Because I believe that you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Yeah.
Simply because you take them so hard. You know, you overthink failure, whereas success, in a lot of ways, when you're successful, what happens is it gets to be routine, you know, and you start taking it for granted. You just assume you're going to be successful. And then when failure happens, you're like, well, this isn't me. This is not the way I operate, you know. So it's interesting the way you framed failure, because most successful people look at it like that. You know, it's a chance to grow. It's a chance to be better. Now, one of the things that fascinates me in the workplace is that women are starting to dominate the workplace in a major way. And when my wife started at the law firm, that wasn't the case,
Yep.
you know? And so I have this particular thing where I like to hear stories of women making it because it gives hope to all little girls out there. Just like being a minority business owner, you know, on some level, just kids seeing me that look like me being successful has to have an impact. So along your way in that journey, what are some of the hurdles that you encountered, and how? See, you can't go in and it's like being an angry black man, you know?
Yeah.
I could never come off as angry because it feeds into stereotypes that people have. Just like for you, if you're outspoken or you're bubbly, you can get labeled,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that becomes a hindrance.
It does, you know, and I've gone through the journey, right? I've gone through the struggles. I've cried behind closed doors thinking, what have I done wrong? You know, and there's been instances where I've been told my voice was too high, or I need to sit to the left of the person in charge, or I shook this man's hand the wrong way, right? And so I gained a mentor, and I'm hoping, like, I mentor young ladies around town who are looking to get in tech because it took a long time to have a seat at the table, right? And you always have to try to be the smartest person in the room when you're a woman in tech, but you also need to speak with impact. And so you need to know and understand what you say matters, and you have to be confident in your approach. And then that's when you actually get to make that difference in your business.
Right. And the one thing that you always keep in the back of your head is that what you do matters for the next woman that comes along, because that sticks with that position. So if you fail,
they will as well. And I'm a very transparent leader. I've just made 14 hires in 30 days for my team.
Holy moly.
And I'm super passionate, right? They know that when they do something great, I will be the loudest woman in the room celebrating their success. Right. And I want to encourage everybody to, no matter who you are, what demographic you are, what you do matters.
Right.
It's important to be forward thinking. Like, we can't make changes unless everybody's ideas are heard. Mm-hmm. And that's super important. And that's some of the things that I learned through my career path.
I think you hit it right on the head. You know, when you become a supervisor, you become a leader. Mm-hmm. A smart leader understands that you're only as good as your team.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not listening to their voices, you're missing out on a lot, you know, because I call them boots on the ground. The people that go out and meet your clients every day, those are the people that should be listened to the most, because they're going to tell you where the pitfalls are, where we're not producing, where we're not strong, as well as what works, right? Mm-hmm. Because you tend to eliminate what doesn't work, really enhance what does work. But if it's only one person's voice that's giving that information, it's only one side. So I think it's awesome that you're hitting all the points that people need to hear, because we forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, particularly in today, I mean, there's so much that bombards us that we forget that we impact people. And I'm fond of saying words matter. Yeah. How you say it matters. We had an incident out at the golf course just this past week where one of our board members was just rude. And it's like, if you're a reflection of the course, you have to be on point all the time. You know, I was a board member out there. You don't get to have bad days. And so you as a leader, right, you go behind closed doors and you deal with all the negativity. But when you come out, you've got to be on point. You wake up in a bad mood, guess what? You don't get to take that into a meeting because it affects your team.
Yep.
And so we're going to turn to Dynasty Elite Athletic, because that was the main reason I thought I should have you on my show, because you did something special for some kids that weren't as well off as some of the other players. And so, James, did you just say we're up against the break again? You got to stop. Hey, you got to speak up, man. You're whispering in my ear. I was like, what? Did he say something? So
I'm trying to be a little bit quieter for him, but sometimes, you know.
Well, that's okay. I got my ears turned just right. So when we come back, we're going to talk about your Dynasty Elite Athletic experience, as well as your kids' journey within the program. So this is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000, or you can email studio@wdayradionow.com. Hey, this is Jon Adams. Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with Abby Hansen, a vice president of AI. I don't know exactly what the title is, but she's doing great things for Microsoft and ABM now.
ABM Technology Group.
And guess what? That's why you didn't get the email, because I thought it was N instead of M.
Oh.
So I kept, So
it's all good.
now you have two kids playing for Dynasty Elite Athletic.
I do.
First, let's talk about how long have they been with Dynasty and what has been their experience?
This is their first year playing, and it has been incredible. It is so empowering. The coaches are fantastic. And just watching them develop week after week, their skills are really coming together. And they're so addicted to football. We went on a family vacation this summer for a whole week. My one son swam 150 laps a day in the pool. My other one was running sand dunes in Michigan. I mean, they take it very seriously.
Just to stay connected.
To stay connected.
To make sure that they're ready to roll.
So it's awesome.
Nick had been after me to be on the board for a while, and I had begged off because I had felt like I had done enough community service. But I went to a couple practices last year, and I watched the coaching. These guys are passionate. They have a love for the game, and they have a love for the kids that, unless you see it, you don't believe it. And the things that the kids take away from it, it's more than football. We're building young men as well as young women because we have a cheer squad as well. The transformation that you see from day one to now it's the middle of the season, the confidence that they get. And then also, the parents of the other kids become your friend group.
Yeah, it's, Dynasty football is really a family. And I've never experienced that in a club sport before. The parents encourage each other. We're helping to take each other's kids to practice or to football games if they're unable to, make the commitment to go. And it's been something that has been life-changing, not only for my kids, but for me personally as well, because you can see the changes. And the best thing I loved on the very first day of practice, Coach James pulls us aside in a parents' meeting and goes, if your kid gets in trouble, you don't keep them home as a punishment. You bring them to this field,
right?
And you let us know what happened, and we'll take care of it here.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, I'm a single mom. I'm down with this, right? I'm doing the best I can working with my kids. We have a great co-parenting relationship with their dad. But when I'm home, I'm like, I need a little help once in a while.
Right.
So one practice, I'm like, Gavin, he's my youngest twin by a minute. I said, I'm calling Coach James. Mom, don't. And I'm like, I am. I said, buddy, you're out of line. You're being disrespectful. And so I called Coach James. He's like, yeah, there were 8 kids' parents that called in today. And boy, did we take care of it on the field. And so they respect. They pray at practice, which I love the faith aspect of it. It's yes, ma'am. Yes, coach. Thank your parents. And they are building our future leaders of our community to do great things. And that's what I love about this program.
And it's something where if it's beneficial to your kids, you're all in.
Absolutely.
And when you have coaches that care beyond the game, and I talked about it in my initial introduction, that it's a partnership, and that, we talk to the kids about the fact that if you can't be a good person at school and you can't be a good person at home, there's no way that you can be a good football player. There's no way that you can excel because it takes discipline.
Yeah.
Because after all, we're not dealing with fully functioning adults. We're dealing with kids. And there's a reason that we're older than them. We're supposed to impart wisdom and guidance and respect and discipline. And, as a single mother, sometimes you get busy, I have 2 sisters that were single moms and just working and doing things that they need to do. They weren't there all the time, but as an uncle, I felt a responsibility to be there. And in my coaching style, I think it's paramount. People don't realize that some of the most influential people that your kids will ever meet are the teachers, coaches, and people in the church.
Yeah.
And so for me as a coach, I always thought if that is true, which it is, I need to make sure that I'm imparting things that are going to make them better people.
Right.
And then you get to the games, and I'm always amazed at you have your kids that are all in like your kids, and they're soaking it up like a sponge. And then you have kids that have no idea, right? And you go from the very beginning of the season where you're like, all right, this looks like a Chinese fire drill. And then slowly over time, those second and third tier kids start to get it. Yeah. And then they get to go play teams down in Minneapolis. And one of the things is, as coaches, we always look at where we think they are. And reports that I'm getting from the coaches is these kids are dynamite. They're playing good competition, and Coach Brent was like, I wasn't sure what we were going to get, but they were amazing. So I don't get to the games. But speaking of which, we're playing in the Dome on Sunday, right?
We are, and we're playing. We started, I think, 12:30 that day with the 13U, and 10U starts at 3:30. And if you want to come see what this club is about, come spend the ticket. Come watch great football. I mean, these kids are levels above normal programs in the area just because of the discipline and family that's created on each team. And there's also another huge opportunity that I have to throw out there. So the 10U and 12U teams get to go to Sandusky, Ohio for the Mega Bowl tournament in November. And we want to make sure that no kid is left behind. And so we are doing a donation drive. So if your business wants to make a donation, we are looking for donations for that. And you can just go ahead and contact me directly as well. And we've had some great sponsors in the community already that are believing in these kids to be able to give them the opportunity who might not otherwise be able to go. So it's awesome. It's so fun.
See? So yeah, we're a 501(c)(3). We rely on the kindness of others to make this happen. Yeah. And so, to travel costs money, hotel costs money. We don't want these kids just to go to Ohio and play. We want them to have an experience. And for a lot of kids, this will be their first time traveling.
Yep.
This will be their first time being a part of something like this. And the fact that we've qualified to go to these places means that we have a pretty good product on the field. So if you want to contribute, you can go to Facebook. There's a Dynasty Elite Athletic page. We have sponsorship page on there. You can also get a hold of Abby. You can get a hold of me. My phone number is 701-2. Oh, my goodness. I just gave them WDAY's number, 701-261-7312. You can get a hold of me. We do need donations. We also need funding for equipment. Travel costs money. I liken it to any travel organization. There's the fees associated, whether it's a hospital, hotels, eating, being able to take kids, have a wonderful experience. I know that when I coached swimming, we took the kids to a movie once, and so there were kids that, we're dealing with kids that parents may not have money to do everything. And so we try to raise money to offset that because these organizations, whether it's music or theater or sports, they provide another avenue in which for our young people to grow. And I say, you know what? If they're involved in something, you know what they're not? They're not out in the street just doing anything. And so one of the rules is at Dynasty is that you have to be a good person. You have to show good citizenship in order to participate. And that's huge for us because it teaches them respect. It teaches them that they must sacrifice in order to get the things that they want. So please, if you're listening, feel free to call us and donate so that these kids can have a great experience in Ohio. So in your mind, when you look at long term, and your young people, they have aspirations of playing in high school, and we're starting to see some of our kids that came to the Dynasty program.
They're making varsity as a freshman, right?
That are making varsity as freshmen.
Right.
And so Dynasty is having an impact. And that's not to take away from other organizations in town and say that they don't. But when you have a ninth grader that's moving up to varsity, at Davies or Fargo North or some of the other high schools, that says something about the coaching and the organization at large. So we would welcome your support. We would ask that you come out and support the guys. Number one, we need to win on Sunday.
Absolutely.
This is a big deal because even in the 4 years that we've been in existence, there are rivalries that have developed in South Dakota. There are rivalries that have developed in Minnesota, and we're representing North Dakota at large. So it's kind of like Legion baseball.
Yeah.
And So the pride that we feel when we watch the Bison, and you're a Bison alum,
Yeah.
you know, it's all about community.
It
And
is.
this is one of these organizations. When I look at, like I said, I got involved. My charitable giving, my charitable contributions, I thought that I had done enough in society where I could ride off into the sunset. But I have to tell you, the impact that Dynasty is having on these young people is enormous, as well as the parents, you know? And when I talk about Fargo-Moorhead being a great community, like I said, Abby, I wanted you on the show because you embody what I talk about when I say Fargo nice, when I say that we look after one another, because, you know, you could have went to Minneapolis and not thought twice about these kids, but you've taken some of these kids under your wing. I want to commend you for that, because not everybody does that, you know, and I'm not saying you have to, but I come from, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with all I talk about with the city commission and all the things that they do, as well as, you know, we have a homeless population right now, and I hear people saying, well, you know, those people made bad choices. And statistics say that there's only like 5% of people in the homeless population that choose to be homeless. But when you listen to the talking points, you would think that, you know, half the people that you see that are homeless, it's by choice. Well, you know, when you're doing what you're doing, it puts aside the rhetoric.
Right.
And it reminds us that there are good people out there. And I wanted to get back to the JCs because, you know, when I volunteer for these programs, when I was growing up, the JCs were people that they used to close down Walgreens, and they would give us money to go shopping for Christmas presents. And growing up poor, to be able to do that, it was always something you look forward to, and it was all volunteers. And the people were nice, and the men that were part of the program, they gave us life lessons, you know? And I think that's what you're doing. And so I love the fact that you're positive and the things you're doing with Microsoft. Big Game James says we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to put a fine bow on a fabulous show and a fabulous guest. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Yes, welcome to the final segment with Talk of the Town. I'm here with Abby Hansen, Vice President of ABN Now AI Division, and mom of Dynasty Elite Athletes. And so to wrap up this segment, we're talking about kids, right? And our kids are bombarded by a myriad of experiences on social media, in life at large. And so we were talking at the beginning about parenting and the importance of being involved and the fact that it takes a community. But, navigating that with your kids, we talk about controls on social media and things like that. When looking at the things that they face, the one thing that struck me that I was thinking about is the fact that cyberbullying, as well as paying attention to our kids' mental health,
Absolutely.
And Dynasty Elite Athletic provides not only an outlet, but a voice. The one thing that we allow kids to do is to express themselves, sometimes too much so, but they have to have an avenue for expression. And so with your kids being of that age, how do you navigate that?
This is a tough subject for me to talk about. This past week, I lost a really good friend's son to suicide. And we just don't know what's going on in our kids' heads. And I think it's important that we're very transparent as parents and really know and understand where our kids are coming from. And 2 summers ago, my daughter and I sat down and she wouldn't eat for like 3 to 5 days. And I found out she was being cyberbullied on TikTok and Snapchat. And I had the videos. I got frustrated. Mama Bear came out, right?
Yeah.
And I texted the parent and I said, this is harassment. I said, it needs to stop. We have to do better here. We have to know and understand where this is coming from. Kids who are cyberbullied are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than kids who aren't. And so as a parent, I took it into my hands and I talked to everybody about this. My daughter and I talk about this every single day. For TikTok, she can't post a video unless I approve it.
Right.
She can't have followers or follow people unless I know who they are and I will look them up.
Right.
At any time, I can take her phone and scroll through them. My daughter's been a model and an actress. And, you have an open social platform, so you constantly need to be on top of everything that's going on.
Right.
Snapchat, the same thing. Parents will come to me and say, how do you monitor this? You have a policy with your kids. You have open conversations. If they're distraught, you need to make sure you know where it's coming from. Ask your children every single day, how was your day? How are you feeling? How are people at school? Really get to know your kids because it's important at the end of the day. We didn't have social media growing up. We passed notes in class. We didn't have cell phones until I was 22 years old, right? And so the world has changed. And as parents, it is our responsibility to adapt with the times and really know and understand where it's coming from. And then when you look at social media presence, it's important to talk to your children about that too, because what you post matters.
Right.
Just because it's on the internet and you delete it, it never goes away.
Right.
There have been college athletes that have had their full ride scholarships taken back because of something they said when they were a sophomore in high school.
Right.
And so we need to teach social responsibility in school, in church, at home, and we need to make sure that we're following up and doing our due diligence.
And I think along those lines is listening.
Right.
when
Every
we
day.
were growing up, kids were seen and not heard. There were things that I would never discuss with my parents, even if I
Right.
was distraught about it. You just learn from other people how to deal with it. It's not that way anymore. Our kids have access to everything,
Yep.
good and bad. And so, meaningful communication. And I worked in counseling for 5 years. And the one thing that I told parents is that you can take your kid out for 2 hours and be with them and not be with them. I mean, how many times have you been out and you see a family out and everybody's on their phone? And I'm guilty of it. My wife and I sit with our phone in our hands and watch TV, but we also have that communication. And the biggest deterrent that you can have from your kid having a negative experience is their ability to express to you exactly how they're feeling.
Yep.
And sometimes you may be the source of that, which is hard to hear as a parent because we want what's best for them. But sometimes we fail too. And we have to understand that part. And the biggest thing is, if you see that your child is in distress, don't be afraid to reach out to friends or family or ask for help. We have great resources in this town, and I think that we have to pay attention to our kids. We have to pay attention to what's going on.
And I heard something super interesting about TikTok, right? It's a different TikTok platform in the U.S. than it is in China.
Yes, it is.
And those videos sometimes have hidden meanings behind them when they're being played. And they're messing with our kids' heads, and they're making them think differently. So it's important to know and understand what platforms your kids are on and monitor that, because we have the ability to do that. My daughter and I are looking at doing a vlog and a passion project talking about cyberbullying. And I was talking to one of my business partners, and he had found over 100 suicide letters underneath his child's bed and never committed it, like, right? And so we really need to know and understand, like, why is our kid distraught? Why are they sitting in their bedrooms? Why aren't they coming to the dinner table? So it's up to us to really have those conversations at the end of the day.
That is an absolute fact. Big Game James says that's all the time we have for now. Abby, I can assure you that I'm going to have you on my show again. There's so much that we could talk about. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. Have a great day, and as always, stay black.